Hey eco enthusiasts, welcome back to Eco Life Chronicles. Today, we're diving into something that's not only good for the planet, but super easy to start at home: composting. If you've ever thought about starting your sustainable garden, composting is the perfect place to begin. And don't worry, I know what some of you might be thinking. Composting? Isn't that a smelly pile of rotting stuff? But hold on, we're about to break it down and make composting not just simple, but honestly, kind of fun. What is composting? All right, first things first. What even is composting? Think of it as nature's way of recycling. When we compost, we take things we'd normally toss out, like fruit peels, veggie scraps, coffee grounds, and we let nature do its magic. Microbes break it all down, transforming it into a rich, nutrient-packed soil that's perfect for your garden. So instead of sending all that stuff to a landfill, you're creating a gold mine for your garden. Let's see how easy it is to get started. The basics of composting. Composting isn't just about throwing scraps into a pile and hoping for the best. Let's cover the basics first. We're going to need two types of materials: greens and browns. Greens are your wet materials. Things like fruit and veggie scraps, coffee grounds, and even lawn clippings. They're high in nitrogen, which is great for creating that composty heat. Then we have our browns. Think dry materials like cardboard, dried leaves, shredded paper. They're rich in carbon, and they help balance the greens so we don't end up with a slimy mess. The key is balancing these two, about 2 parts browns to 1 part greens. It's a bit like making a compost sandwich, choosing a composting method. So, let's talk methods. Composting isn't one size fits all. Depending on your space and time, there's a composting style for everyone. First up, if you have a backyard and some extra space, a simple compost pile or bin is the way to go. Just layer your greens and browns, give it a stir every now and then, and voila. In a few months, you'll have some gorgeous compost. But what if you don't have a backyard? Apartment dwellers, I see you. Don't worry, you can still compost. Let's talk about worm bins. Yes, worms. A worm bin is small, odor-free, and can be kept indoors. The worms eat your food scraps, breaking them down even faster than traditional composting. All you need is a container, some bedding, and your new worm friends. And trust me, it's nowhere near as gross as it sounds. Plus, you get this amazing rich compost for your plants. So whether you have a huge yard or a tiny balcony, there's a composting method for you. Setting up your composting system. Okay, let's set up a compost bin together. If you're ready to get your hands dirty, grab a bin or even a pile spot, and let's get started. Remember, 2 parts browns, 1 part greens. So for every handful of veggie scraps, toss in double the amount of dry leaves, cardboard, or paper. Add a bit of water to keep things moist, like a damp sponge. This helps the microbes thrive without turning your pile into a swamp. And every week or so, just give it a turn with a pitchfork or shovel. Easy, right? Common composting mistakes. Now, I'll be honest, composting doesn't always go perfectly. So let's talk about a few common mistakes and how to avoid them. First, don't add meat, dairy, or oily foods to your compost. They don't break down as easily and can attract pests. And believe me, you don't want to find critters having a feast in your bin. Next, don't forget to balance your greens and browns. Too many greens? You'll end up with a smelly, slimy pile. Too many browns? It'll dry out and compost at a snail's pace. And finally, don't let your compost get too wet or too dry. Keep that damp sponge texture for optimal results. When is compost ready? Now, the big question: when is your compost actually ready? Typically, compost takes anywhere from 2 to 6 months, depending on conditions and how often you turn it. When your compost looks like dark, crumbly soil and smells earthy, you're good to go. You can add it to your garden, mix it with potting soil, or even make compost tea for your plants. Benefits of composting. So why go through all this effort? Composting has big benefits. First, it enriches the soil, helping your plants grow stronger and more resilient. It also helps the soil retain moisture, so you don't have to water as much. a win for your plants and your water bill. Composting also reduces your waste, cutting down on methane emissions from landfills. It's like a mini environmental superhero move. Tips for success. Now, a few tips for success. Tip 1. Keep a small compost container in your kitchen. That way, every time you're chopping veggies or making coffee, you can easily collect scraps. Tip 2. If you notice any smell, add more browns and give it a good stir. And remember, like anything, composting takes time. Don't be discouraged if it's slow at first. Your plants will thank you. Alright, that's your composting 101. Whether you're composting in a big backyard bin, a small worm farm, or even a countertop container, you're on your way to creating a healthier planet and some awesome soil for your garden. So, what are you waiting for? Get out there and start composting. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to Eco-Life Chronicles for more eco-friendly tips and tricks. Comment below if you're going to try composting or if you're already a pro. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.